All right, earners, let's take a look at some one-point perspective rugs. And basically, you're drawing a rug like you're drawing a window or a door. It's just it's on the floor. And the first thing that you want to know is that, as always, things are getting bigger as they get closer to you. So I'm actually going to do two different rugs. One has sort of a geometric design, and then we'll walk through a little bit about like texture kind of things, how you're going to make that work. So I'm going to start with making some orthogonals to be the sides of each of my rugs right here. So let's do, I can do them semi-close to the wall. And since I know they're not going to be on the back wall, I don't necessarily need to have my line going all the way to that vanishing point. I can draw it just on the floor and it'll work out just fine. Keep it lined up. And then I'll be finishing these with some horizontal lines. Have a little gap in between each of them. There we are. And then lining up my triangles so that I can get some horizontal lines to be the start and finish of each of my rugs. Okay. Keep in mind that where it is in location to that vanishing point changes how you see each of these rugs. And then I will go back and erase all my extra bits that I no longer need. Okay. Specifically just the stuff that's down here. I don't need it. Okay. So what we're going to walk through is trying to get some sort of geometric pattern, because triangles are a little bit different than like stripes or cubes. Okay, a little bit different. And notice how they're kind of going diagonal, but what I do see is I see some horizontal lines, and that's what I want to notice first. Okay, is getting those horizontal lines in there, and that'll help me a whole lot. So I can do a horizontal line easy. Can I do a triangle? We'll see about that. But I know that as I get closer to where I'm standing within this drawing, these, I guess they're starting off as stripes, are going to get bigger and bigger gradually. Make sure I keep this lined up. There we go. There, much better. Let's see if I can get this just right just by guessing. So there are some times that you might need to adjust the length of your rug because it's not evening out. Like if I was gradually making these bigger and then this last piece was a skinny stripe, I could either stop it early or add a little bit more to the end of it. But I think this will work out just fine. Okay, and then I gotta take a look at where my diagonals on here are. Okay, so this is gonna be one of those instances, sometimes we have special designs where the diagonals that you create are not going to go to that vanishing point, okay? And that's because we're trying to recreate this kind of design. So if you have something funky like this, notice where lines start and lines stop. So what I'm going to notice first is I have one right here in the middle, and where do those go? Those go to my corners. Okay, so what I want to do is find the center of this rug. Okay, and how I find the center is I need to start with finding about the middle up here, and then I'm going to use my orthogonal because it might not be exactly center because this is closer to me than that's closer to me theoretically. So I want to make sure I double check. Okay, so this is my center, and then I'm going to draw here to here, here to here. So draw what you know on here first. Okay, draw what you see. I see that that line's going from the center right to the corners, and it's doing the same thing on this opposite side. Not only did I get two of the lines that I'm going to need down, I also figured out the angle in which the rest of these lines are going to go, because the line from the corner to the center, these are all parallel with each other. The lines from here to the center, they're all parallel with each other. So now I can basically create lines that are parallel with what I have. Okay. Now the next thing I want to notice is I can divide it up, okay, because this is divided into thirds, divided into thirds. So this is halfway, so about a third and a third. And I'm just guesstimating right here, but this guesstimating will help me in figuring out how big each of these diagonals are going to be, okay? Because I'm going to have a halfway point. Notice how this halfway point doesn't go quite to the corners here, okay? But it goes pretty close, so I think I'm just going to go for it if the angle matches pretty well. It's not quite what I want for an angle, but you know what? If I am thinking about this as perspective and not just me seeing it how I think I see it, I'm gonna go for it. Because if it worked on one side, it probably works on this side. Okay, and then dividing these up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, they're in thirds again. So figuring out what you do know. Do I know the angle? No. Do I know that there's 3 triangles wide on each half? Yes, I do. And each of these will get bigger as they get closer to me, which, if we're thinking about perspective, makes sense. All right, and this should be able to finish these ones going this way, and then I'll think about the rest of them. I actually think this is working, dudes. Nice. Okay. Now I need to figure out where the rest of these connect. And it looks like... Guys, I might have to wing it. I just might have to. This line right here will be this line here. It comes to about second row down, just below. Basing off of what I see. So far, not too bad. Not quite at this one, basing it off what I see. Okay, ooh. So look, I'm trying to make these match up right at the point. So it looks like this one didn't match up quite right, but now I figured out how I want to do it. This intersection, I need to have my triangle cross that intersection. Now it's a triangle versus being a weird shape. Okay, so that is going to help solve the rest of my problems. Notice how there's some intersections here. I want these to follow those intersections across. Problem solving to the max core. There we go. And you notice how there's a corner, corner, corner. If I connect the corners, I bet I would be getting somewhere. And right here. It's all just simple math. There we go. Looks like I just have 2 more. You know, when I picked out that picture, it looked just like a simple, fun, triangle patterned rug, and this is a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. But it's gonna look cool. Which is the most important part. There we go. Do you guys see all the triangles now? I think that worked. Bravo. Okay, now something a little bit easier to explain. Okay, let's look at this texture thing here. Okay. Now the question is how am I going to create the illusion of this texture? Well, thing number 1, rugs that have texture probably don't have perfectly straight edges. So I probably want to go and shag this up a little bit. Okay, so that means I'm just squiggling my pencil around the edges. Okay. Don't worry about erasing your original edges yet. It's a good guideline. I wouldn't wing it doing these scribbles. It's hard to keep going straight unless you have a line to follow. Okay, and then a lot of this is just the value part, okay, because you'll be shading it in probably a light value, and then you're going to go back and add some of this texture stuff to it. So it's all going to be really mostly value that you're going to add, but even adding elements like getting sort of like some squiggles in there, or even if it was more a stringy type of rug, so maybe it has something like this that makes it a little bit furry, okay, trying to do some abstract additions of lines, little strokes, okay, depending on what kind of texture you want your rug to have, okay. Looking up different types of textures and how to draw them is something that's going to be really helpful with some of the details, especially once we get to work with value. But that's basically all I got when we talk about rugs.